Okay, let's be real. You're in an app, you're in the zone, and bam, a pop-up. Your first reaction? Probably to just get rid of it, right? Swat it away like a bug. But what if I told you they don't have to be annoying? What if they could actually be awesome? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. How to take pop-ups from being a total pain to a powerful tool. But before we get to the good stuff, we have to face the cold, hard truth of the problem. And it comes down to this number: 70 to 80%. Think about that. That's a huge majority of people. And what are they all doing when they see a pop-up?
They're dismissing it instantly, without even a second thought. And that right there is the villain of our story today, the intrusive, poorly timed pop-up. And listen, it's not just a minor inconvenience. This is a feature that can literally drive people away from your app for good.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the problem, then get into your pop-up toolkit. After that, we'll dive into the psychology behind what actually works, talk about why timing is everything, and finish up with the golden rules to tie it all together. Sound good? Let's go.
So, Section 1, the pop-up problem. It's really easy to just write off a bad pop-up as, that's just annoying. But the reality? The impact is real. You can measure it, and honestly, it can be devastating for your app's success.
Just look at the difference here. Bad pop-ups can spike your bounce rate to over 50%. Let that sink in. More than half the people who open your app could be leaving right away. But when you get it right, that number just plummets. This isn't just about user experience. We're talking about the actual survival of your app. Okay, so how do we get on the right side of that chart? Well, it all starts with having the right tools for the job. There are really three main players in the pop-up world, and knowing which one to use, and just as importantly, when, is step number one. First up, we've got the modal. This is your heavyweight champion. It literally takes over the screen and forces the user to pay attention. It stops everything. Because it's so disruptive, you've got to use it wisely. We're talking only for the most critical things, like confirming a purchase or granting permissions. It's powerful, so use it sparingly. Next, you have the banner. This is way more chill. It's just a little strip, usually at the top or bottom, that gives you a heads up without interrupting what you're doing. It's perfect for things that are good to know but don't need immediate action. Users can check it out or just keep on scrolling. No big deal.
And last but not least, the interstitial. The best way to think of this one is like a commercial break. It pops up during a natural pause in the action, like between levels of a game or after you finish reading an article. Since it's full screen and shows up when you're already taking a breather, it's a fantastic spot for a special offer or a big announcement.
All right, so now we know what our tools are, but to really master them, we have to understand the why. Why do some pop-ups work while others fail spectacularly? It all comes down to psychology. The best ones feel less like a roadblock and more like a helpful guide, and that's all by design.
It really boils down to a few key ideas. You've got the fog model, which is basically about asking for something simple when someone is already motivated to do it. Then there's loss aversion, good old FOMO, the fear of missing out. Nobody wants to lose their progress. Reciprocity is huge too. It's simple. Give something valuable before you ask for something back. But honestly, the king of them all is contextual relevance. Just making sure your pop-up relates to what the user is doing right that second can double your response rates. Seriously, double. And that brings us to maybe the single most important piece of the puzzle: timing. I mean, you can have the most beautiful, persuasive pop-up in the world, but if you show it at the wrong time, it's useless. Getting the timing right is literally the difference between being helpful and being infuriating. So that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? When is the perfect moment for a pop-up to appear? Well, luckily, we don't have to guess. There's some actual data that points us in the right direction. For those big, full-screen modals, the sweet spot is right here, 30 to 60 seconds. Think about it. You can't just ambush someone the second they walk in the door, right? You got to let them get their bearings, see what your app is all about, and start to see the value. Then you can ask for something. That little bit of patience shows respect, and it makes a huge difference. But timing isn't just about a clock. It's about being smart and reacting to user behavior. These are called smart triggers, like showing a pop-up just as someone is about to leave. That's exit intent. Or maybe after they've scrolled halfway down a page. Or, my personal favorite, right after they complete an important action. See? It makes the whole thing feel connected and responsive, not just random and annoying. I mean, it really doesn't get any clearer than this quote. The single most important rule: do not annoy the user. That's it. That's the whole game. And a huge part of not being annoying isn't just about when you show a pop-up, but also how often. And that leads us to the concept of frequency capping.
And the magic number here is 1 to 2. Seriously, you should limit your pop-ups to maybe 1 or 2 per session. Sometimes you might even stretch that to 1 or 2 per week. Any more than that, and you're just asking for trouble. People get tired, they start ignoring everything you show them, and pretty soon they're hitting that uninstall button. Less is definitely more here.
Okay, let's bring this all home. We've talked about the tools, the psychology, the timing. Now it's time for the golden rules. Think of this as your simple go-to checklist for getting it right every time.
On the do side, it's pretty straightforward. Always personalize, cap that frequency like we just talked about, and make sure you're offering real value first. Oh, and test everything. On the don't side, please, whatever you do, don't interrupt someone in the middle of something important. Don't use tricky, manipulative language, and for the love of all that is good, don't make the X button impossible to find. It really all just boils down to one thing: respect the user's time and attention.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. The next time you're about to launch a pop-up, just stop and ask yourself, is this actually helpful? Or is this a reason for someone to uninstall my app? Because ultimately, the answer to that question makes all the difference. The choice is yours.